It was the rainy season. On the border of Bihar and Bengal stood an old town named Dumaria. After a whole day of rain, the streets were filled with mud. Thick layers of clouds covered the sky, and weeks had passed without seeing the sun. By evening, the electricity went out as usual, and a deep, cold silence settled over the entire town. On the edge of this town, near the old railway track, stood a decaying bungalow. Moss covered its walls. The window glasses were broken, and inside there was always a damp smell of wet earth. People used to say that many years ago, a horrifying incident had taken place in this bungalow, and since then, it had been abandoned. But that evening, a young man named Aniket stopped his bike in front of it. He was a photographer who loved collecting strange and rare things. In the rainy mist, the broken gate of the bungalow and the faint light coming from inside pulled him toward it. He crossed the gate and entered the old veranda. Broken tiles on the floor, scattered newspapers, peeled off plaster on the walls. And in one corner lay a dusty wooden cupboard, and on top of it sat a doll. This was not an ordinary doll. Its face strangely resembled a Labubu-style cartoon. But the smile was very thin and cold, and its eyes didn't look like glass. They shone like human eyes. The doll's body was made of wood and cloth, but its hands and legs were unusually long, as if someone hadn't made it for children to play with, but for some other purpose. When Aniket lifted the doll, it was heavy, as if something solid was hidden inside. Beneath it lay an old, half-rotten diary, whose pages. On the first night, he kept the doll on his studio table. It was still raining outside, and the room was lit only by a dim yellow bulb. Aniket was busy with his work, but his eyes kept drifting toward the doll. Its smile didn't seem fixed. Every time he looked, the lips appeared to stretch a little more. Around 2 a.m., when he went to sleep, the ceiling fan suddenly stopped working, and a strange coldness filled the room. He felt as if someone was laughing very slowly, but no one was there. Only the Labubu doll, whose head was now slightly lifted upward. In the next few days, strange incidents increased. Cameras clicked by themselves, and the photos showed nothing but fog and a shadow standing in the darkness. Sometimes the doll would be on the table, sometimes on the floor. Sometimes its eyelids seemed to blink slightly, and under the bulb at night, its face looked as if a thin layer of sweat had appeared on it. One day when Aniket was outside, the candle in his room lit by itself. In its light, the doll's eyes glowed red, and in the shadow cast on the wall, the face of a woman appeared. Her eyes full of hatred and anger. Fear and anxiety began to grow. Aniket decided to get that Bengali diary translated. When he took it to an old man in town, the elder read it and revealed that the diary belonged to a woman named Ruma, who had been burned alive by her in-laws in 1970. Her spirit had been trapped inside the doll by a chantric through a ritual, a soul-binding spell, so that she couldn't harm anyone. But if the doll reached the hands of a true owner, the binding could break. That night, a deep silence filled the room. Even the ticking of the clock wasn't audible. Aniket suddenly felt as if someone was standing near him. Slowly, he opened his eyes. The doll was sitting on his chest. Its wooden hands were around his neck, and its eyes now glowed fully red. Aniket threw it away with all his strength. The doll hit the wall, but didn't break. Instead, it stood itself upright, and its smile now stretched all the way to its ears. Aniket decided to end this thing forever. He took the doll to the river outside the town. Rain was pouring heavily, and the water current looked dangerous. Without thinking twice, he threw the doll into the river with full force. The doll sank into the water, and for a moment, everything was silent. For 2 weeks, everything was normal. No strange sound, no shadow. But one evening, a parcel arrived by mail. There was no name or address on it, just a damp box dripping water. When Aniket opened the box, inside was the same Labubu doll, soaked wet. This time, in her eyes, along with red, a black swirling smoke was spinning, and her wooden lips were moving slightly. Seeing this, a chilling shiver ran through Aniket's entire body. So friends, if you like the story, like and subscribe. Otherwise, this story will never end.